for streaming. And David, did you want me to go ahead and start recording for starting the meeting, or would you like to wait a little more?
Could we please wait 2 minutes?
Yep, sure. I can hear myself. That's not good. Okay. And so if anybody's watching the streaming recording, or if you're watching live, we're just waiting for one more person, and he's just arrived. Hi, Mike.
Hey there. Hey, Miss Sarah.
And I retract my 2-minute request, and I'm fine recording whenever.
You're ready to go.
Yes, all right. Welcome, everybody. I'll call the meeting of the Grand Marais Public Library to order on Thursday, February 25th, 2021 at 5:05 p.m. Let's do a roll call and introduction of visitors. Dave Mills here. Kevin.
Hi, Kevin Lavore.
Sarah.
Sarah McManus.
Our new library board member. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Mike.
Here.
And Sue.
Here.
And then we have a visitor, Helen, who is a long-serving board member and is now representing the Arrowhead Library System on our behalf. So welcome, Helen, and thanks for being here. We can move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss and pull off the consent agenda?
Just a couple of tiny changes that I'd like to do an oath of office right up front, and also to correct the Library Friends Liaison Report to ALS Liaison Report.
Very good. Could I get a motion to approve that amended agenda?
I will so move.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Mike?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Dave is aye as well. Unanimous approval of the agenda. Thank you. And then we can go on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items that they want to pull from the consent agenda? Just the bills and minutes and of course this agenda that we just approved. We can have a motion if so acceptable.
I would move that we accept the agenda.
The consent agenda. Yeah. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have motion and support. I'll do a roll call vote again. Mike?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
And Sarah?
Aye.
Dave is aye as well. Moving on the agenda to our ALS report. Welcome again, Helen, and please share as much info as you've got.
Well, this has been an exciting week for me because it's been my first time to be a part of the legislative session for the library. What we are doing is, of course, pushing for the bills that will be of support for the libraries all across Minnesota. And it is, our advocacy group is the Minnesota Library Association, and they've put out a lot of literature, and they're the ones that really know about the numbers of the bills, and they're pushing to get the numbers and all of that sort of thing, the technical part. But there are three things that we have in the, I guess should say, on the docket, and hoping for all of them. Some of them are repeats of things that have been pushed for before. The two legislators, or the two, well, one was a senator. I went to a session with Senator Bach, and I went to a session with Representative Rob Eklund. And Rob Eklund, I will say, I have had more contact with and know that he is personally very interested in libraries, is a great reader, and it was fun to have a conversation with him. There were other people in the group, about 7 of us. With Eklund, we had mostly representatives from library directors, and I hope someday we get someone from our group here to be in that kind of session. But because I had been on the board, I was able to say pretty much what I thought had been going on at our library. But Two Harbors and Silver Bay and Cook and whatever the library is that's closest to him, because he was talking very personally about his wife taking the children over to the library. So it would be his personal library. Now, the first thing, or the one that seems to be hanging on, and actually was brought forth several years ago by Senator Bach, and that is trying to improve the support funding that comes from the state to the library different systems. Now, there are 7 systems, and I think I've got my, if I get the numbers wrong, it really doesn't matter, because there are beautiful imagery on the ALS information. So the Arrowhead System Library website, you would be able to get lots of information on the specifics of it. But the point is that because the funding is based in relationship a lot on property, then, and the value of property, it is also includes the geographical area. But we do have a senator, and I've got to get to my right page here, a senator who is putting forth this bill, and his name is Senator Mark Johnson. He is a Republican, but he is pushing, this is his bill, pushing for an increased funding of $2 million for the regional public library systems and the formula change. And that one of the things that's been the difficulty is that it's going to take quite an input of funds up front to be able to keep, if you change the formula, some people are going to lose out. And this is what I want to read to you. A proposed increase and formula change is endorsed by the 12, I was wrong, Minnesota Regional Public Library System governing boards, the Minnesota Library Association, and Information and Technology Educators of Minnesota. And this is an effort to maintain a strong public network of Minnesotans. And the idea is that all 12 across the whole state have endorsed this. And then we have someone who is pushing for it. As I said before, the first effort to do something about the formula came from Senator Bach. So it was good to remind him that this was something that when it comes along, that we would encourage him to get on board with as well. So you can see what we were doing in our groups of talking, not only what has the library been doing, particularly what it's been doing through and how it's been surviving during COVID, and what kinds of things have come as a result of having to move funds from one place to another. So that is one of them. The other one that I want to speak to is the legacy funding. And we know a little bit about now the funding that would come from the legislature would not be for 2021. It's a biennium sort of thing. We already know what the funds are that are available for 2021. But for what they're asking for in the legacy fund, and I'm going to read what the bit here is. Minnesota's 12 regional public libraries have been fortunate recipients of the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund since 2009. Statewide, more than 28,302 programs, classes, and projects in partnership with arts and cultural organizations, independent artists, historical societies, and community organizations have been offered with a total of 2,320,615 participants. And that's the effect that so it's a very valued kind of input through the legacy program. And I will ask Amanda to give whenever I get off this, she can remind me what the exact language of the legacy program is. And she'll probably be speaking to that, not necessarily tonight, but at different times. And the one thing that's happening in this particular year is that they're asking for support at an annual appropriation of $2.5 million and an additional $125,000 for the Minnesota Center for the Book, which is actually and I won't get the technology of that either, but if I had any more notes, I'd lose myself anyway. So basically it comes from the national, maybe Amanda, can you help me out here? What, whenever the Minnesota Book for the Arts is a representative, it has been appointed by a national organization, and I can't remember what governmental entity it specifically is supported by. Is it like it's the Library of Congress. Thank you, Helen.
Yeah.
Okay, got that? Everybody got that? It comes from the Library of Congress. Thank you, Dave. And this has been what has served us throughout. And I've attended 3 of the statewide it's like a statewide book club. And they have supported this by making ebooks available so that individuals can participate in a statewide conversation about some topic that has been significant to our state as a whole in the last year. And this has been, I had not known about the kind of offerings that they had. I knew their name, and I at one time could really flip off the Library of Congress information. I just couldn't do it right now. But the essence of it is that they are seeing it to be so valuable that they're putting it as a stand-aside request for the legacy, which would make the total for the legacy $2,625,000. Now, I hope you might have a question, even if it is just the fact that I twisted my tongue and so forth and may not have been very clear in some cases, that you understood what I was trying to say. But it's been a wonderful and exciting experience for me this week to realize that this is a grassroots kind of thing to say what's happening at your library to your representatives and your senators, and that influences how they see them, how they are going to perceive the bills that are coming forth. And I have done calls in or emails in to representatives and senators before. So usually it's an email because then I can check my spelling rather than my language. But the point here is that it gives you a sense of being purposeful and being able to do something for those things that you consider of high value for your community. And we're in there. Thank you very much. That's the end. And I would love to have questions, but if.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Looks like Councillor Gary has a question.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. I had a question, Helen, pretty simple. I was wondering, what is the bill number for that? What kind of,
Okay, the bill number for the funding increase
Mhm.
is the 2 million for the regional. Okay, that one is SF 1131 HF. And that is Senator Mark Johnson.
Mhm.
He had, okay. And then I have to tell you, I do not see a number. Oh yeah, there is a third thing I didn't mention, but it is coming from Senator Roger Chamberlain. And it was interesting because MLA gave us some pointers. I went to learn how to do this thing. And Senator Chamberlain is interested in how the school media, trying to get the children, I'll put it really short, trying to get the media set up in such a way that children aren't online so much. So it's kind of it's a media interest bill, but it's not to necessarily increase time on media, but maybe if more efficiently. And that bill is, well, I'll tell you, I can't see the first letters on this printout. It's 950, but what would it naturally be? SF probably. 950 and then /SF 788. And I did not look that up, but both Senator Bach and Representative Eklund made a point that they're having trouble in just the technicality of getting what they call the sleeves that these bills go in, and that particular office must be backed up. So you can't just give your bill a number. You have to wait until it is assigned from a central office, and that makes perfect sense. But so not only can I not read it very well, I don't even have one for the legacy at all. I don't have a number for that one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. And Councillor Gary, do you have any other questions? Or does anyone else have any questions for Helen?
Does everybody know about ALS? I know that Dave does, and of course Amanda does, because she works with other directors. That it's like this board. It's very like this board, except you are representing different parts of the county, and I'm just a person representing our county, and then we have the other individuals representing a countywide. Some people have, some of the board representatives do have more libraries in their county. And I don't think there's no one any further away than we are from Mountain Iron, where the central office is. But it's been a wonderful learning experience for me, in that there are all sorts of wonderful things that are being provided across the state and within our county grouping. So if any of you get terribly interested, I'm pretty old and I won't be there forever.
Well, I'm really happy you're there now, and I'm so grateful that we have such good representation there. And but I'm not sure what the makeup is exactly of that board, and if we are allowed only one representative or how that works. But if there is more opportunities right now, that's certainly something worth hearing about. I did have a question myself, though. So the funding has been, the formula has been based on, I'm assuming is an inverse relationship to property tax or property values. Is that right? And so I'm wondering, is that how is
that
that?
would make, that's what I would think, although that wasn't discussed. It was basically said that when it was brought up at our governing board meeting it was on the 11th of the month. And that was the way it was referred to, but I'm sure that if you have more money coming from property taxes, then probably your portion that comes from the county would then be greater. And that's the way that I would see it, although I could be corrected on it. Is that what you're thinking too?
I'm assuming it's an inverse relationship with the property values, and it's just very curious to me, and I'm very interested in this change because that's also how fiscal disparities works. And Cook County actually gets the short end of the stick when it comes to fiscal disparities because our property values are so high.
All right.
Versus the rest of the region minus Duluth. They take Duluth out of that calculation. And so, so it's just very interesting. And that's something that Senator Bach, I believe, established. So I'm really curious if if this changes, how and if this changes, and then what implications that could have for fiscal disparities. Probably none, but it's an in. So that's just.
Well, he said he's at the tax end. He's on the income end. So he said if the library gets money, it means it comes from someplace else. But of course, money income is always an absolute. So it's but nevertheless, because he was interested in that, it seemed to be an appropriate thing to discuss with him, and he was very receptive all around to library. I thought that was I had not had a conversation with him so that I would be aware of exactly where he stood on anything.
Yeah. Oh, great! No, that's great. I'm so happy that you've had a chance to lobby and be a part of the legislative
I can
process.
practice for next year, can't I?
Yeah.
Maybe some other purpose. If you don't mind, I think what I will do is leave the meeting, and because I think you probably have heard me enough, and that way my husband and I will have dinner on time.
Awesome. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm very
thank
happy.
you, Helen. And please come back and give us news when appropriate.
Yeah, thank you so much, Helen. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So that leads us into the library director's report. Hand it over to Amanda.
Woohoo! First, just some accolades for Kristen, who is taking a role over at Arrowhead Library System that I'm very excited about. She's going to help a small committee of people select overdrive content. So
Awesome.
when Steve left, he was doing some selection for the ebooks and the audio collections, and now Kristen is stepping in. Very excited about that.
Thank you.
There's a pretty exciting program that's trying to happen right now with the DNR, where they're trying to get state park passes that libraries can check out. So they would be for 7 days. You could borrow a pass from the library and then go visit a park someplace. And we are signed up for that. Of course, as Dave was just talking about, the income level for our area is too high, or the median income. But we do qualify in terms of another criteria of how many youths in the community are enrolled in lunch programs. So I'm very excited and hope to hear back from that later in April.
So I think that might be a little bit different unless I misunderstood before, income level versus property value.
Oh, sorry, right.
Okay.
Medium income's what I'm
Okay.
talking about, and you were doing property value, but yeah, sorry about that.
No, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And then I'm going to share my screen here for just a minute, I think. And what we're going to look at just really briefly is the board activities calendar that I've created for you. Okay, can you see that all right in size? The board activities calendar was something that a prior set of trustees decided they'd like to have as a tool to kind of focus our meetings throughout the year. So I've done my best to follow the model that was already existing, and then I'll just talk to you about it real quickly. For example, it's really nice to know that we're all getting ready for the budget season at the appropriate time. There's quite a series of meetings and things that take place for that. So they're sketched out on here. The prior activities calendar required the director to meet with the board president quarterly to discuss how well we're progressing in our strategic plan. That's something you could decide that you'd rather do as a group quarterly, or do maybe mid-year, end of year sort of reviews all together. So if you have any feedback for me on that, that would be good. Otherwise, I'm just leaving what was in there from the prior years. We'll be talking about this in new business, but if we were doing a strategic planning process, you would see some of that mapped out in here as well. So that tool is available for you in the operations folder, and it's a living document, so we'll just keep adding to it as needed, but at least it gives you a general idea of some of the things that need to be happening on time.
Thank you, Amanda. And I just realized I skipped the oath of office and you had requested putting that on there. So perhaps we can do that with Sarah now, or unless you had more in your report that I was interrupting.
You are not interrupting. You have perfect timing. And Sarah, would it help if I show the oath on the screen?
I actually industriously printed it out myself, so I've got it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Shall I?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I, Sarah McManus, under penalties of law, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of Grand Marais Public Library Board Trustee for the City of Grand Marais to the best of my knowledge, judgment, and ability.
Yay, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
We're lucky to have you. All right, well, sorry for that misstep, but we got it in now and we're official. So that moves us on, if indeed you are through with the director's report. Amanda, does anyone have any questions for Amanda about a report? I see none, I hear none. Oh, Councilor Gary.
Yeah, Commissioner Mills. So I was wondering if you had any input on whether or not you thought it would be better to have more people in on the, looking at the long-term vision or long-term plan, or not. I could see it being really efficient having you guys, just the president and yourself do that. But do you see a reason that it might be better or beneficial, or maybe just have like an annual check-in? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I feel pretty confident that my staff and I can execute the plan that we already have approved. But I do know that at some point we're going to come to you and ask for money, because we're going to try to get a water fountain installed in the building that's got that hands-free bottle refill station. Should be great for COVID-19, ADA accessible, all that good stuff. And then the sidewalk project later in the fall, if we're able to piggyback on some of the construction happening on Highway 61 and get our Poetry sidewalk installed, that's going to be another significant chunk of money then. So I think if I have a concern, I could certainly bring it forward, and otherwise just be checking in with the president. That could work for me.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I blipped out there for a second. Sorry about that. In regards to that sidewalk, is there any news, or we're shovel ready? Or I know there was kind of some contractor talk in the past that sounded less than for sure.
So we have all of our molds here.
Great. Okay.
That was a question, right?
Yep.
We have all of that here. And then it's going to be contingent upon the completion of the highway before any project can happen on our property, which is, I forget what it's called, but we won't be allowed to do any work until that's done. So it's, I believe that Mike is talking to the contractors who are laying the Highway 61 expansion to see if they can pick up our side project for us.
Great. That's exciting, and thank you for clarifying on the timing of that too. All right, any further questions? I don't see any. I don't hear any. We can move on to committee reports. Financial committee, no report. Policy committee, meeting suggested, and that was in the board activities calendar as well there. And so I guess I have a question in regards to that, Amanda, and maybe the committee will have to work on this in particular, unless you know just where things are at with policies, in that they need to be reviewed every 5 years. If there's an ongoing list that we can reference of those reviews, and what is upcoming there.
So I don't have the information pulled aside, but it's definitely something we could make for you. The last updates are noted in the documents themselves in our policy folder document. There's not a lot of change that we're expecting to make, Kristen and I, so far. But there are at least one, if not two, areas that we would recommend. And one of them has to do with the fact that Arrowhead Library System has created a temporary library card, which changes our borrower's card policy. So even though that one is a freshly revised policy, now there's a new piece that needs to be worked in. And also, depending on how everyone's feeling about the director's review policy, that one might also come up for something that could be reworked during the year, because I got feedback from the last committee who worked on my review of some challenges that are present in those documents. So would you like for me to scan the dates on those and bring them to the policy committee, or how would you like to get started?
That would be very helpful. We could also do that, but it's very, very helpful to have your assistance there, and yeah, I think identifying those two areas, both the cards and the review, I think is helpful as well, and we can make our list and attack. How's that sound?
It sounds great, and I don't know. I just throw this out, David. I don't know if we want to. We have a lovely new trustee who might enjoy the opportunity to work on some committees.
Yeah, Sarah, I don't know if you've had a chance to look over the three committees, and if you have any interest in any three of those.
Actually, policy would be the one that I would be most interested in.
Right on. Well, that sounds perfect. We can sign you up there, and does anyone feel like, I think I'm currently on all three of those, and I didn't know, we have, let's see, we have Kevin, Sue, and myself on policy. And so I can bow out and make room for Sarah, and then I don't have to be on all three, and we'll have a more even distribution there if that's okay with everyone, which I think we should probably do by motion just to, be official.
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. Do we have a second?
I would second.
Thank you, Councillor Gary. I'll do a roll call vote unless there's any discussion beforehand. I don't see any. Okay. Kevin?
Aye.
Councillor Gary?
Aye.
Sarah? Sue? Thank you. I heard neither Sarah nor Sue, but I saw you both say aye. So, and I'll say aye as well. So that's unanimous. Thank you for taking that on, Sarah, and thank you, board, for supporting that change. Let's see. I'll get back to my.
So Commissioner Mills, are we still down a person though for this particular board? Yes, right. Okay.
We are down, I think, more than one. Yeah. We have 2 more seats to fill. So Sarah is coming from outside of the city, and Sue as well, and then myself representing the county. So I think that's 2 city seats, if I'm remembering things right. So we'll start beating the bushes here. But I'm really excited, and at some point I'd like to do more board development and orientation and whatnot, and I think that's hard to know if we should do that before we have the full board, or if we should wait in hopes that we'll fill the board out here. But that can be a topic of conversation. But otherwise, moving on to the personnel committee and the committee reports, again, meeting suggested, and that's in regards to the director's review. Is that how I'm reading that? And I haven't been involved in that in the past. I don't know when that starts or when your review is scheduled, or the framework for that.
You and me both. So the strange thing about this is that when you have, according to the board's policy, when you have a new director, you do a 6-month review, and then from that point forward, you do an annual review every year. Because of COVID-19 and the way that the personnel committee was able or not to meet, I actually received my 6-month review at the 10-month mark. So a 12-month review is going to feel kind of strange. And I guess it would be kind of up to the committee what you'd like to do to proceed.
So you got your 6-month review after 10 months, which was in December, right?
Yes.
Is that, yeah. And so going back from December there, that would be August would be the normal 12-month review, right?
12-month review would be
in August, because it would be 12 months after what your normal 6-month review would be.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Okay. And so that's what you're saying might feel a little strange because it is so soon.
Yeah. So should we aim for August of this year?
I know August is a really slow time for everybody around here, right?
Good.
No. Sorry, it doesn't, my sarcasm doesn't. Yeah, we could do that. Or what's intuitive to me is having it in December. Do you feel like that's putting it off too long?
No.
Okay. Well, let's plan on that then, if that's all right with everyone. And
Do we need a motion for that, or does that just happen?
I think that happens within the committee, and I don't think don't think we'll need a motion. I think we'll need a motion as a board to accept that review after we do it, but I think that's as far as we need to go. Okay, well then moving on to communications, we have the St. Paul, Minnesota Community Foundation's Fund Statement, which is in our communications folder. Unfinished business, nothing there. New business, approved submission of the library annual report. Amanda, is there anything you wanted to say about that, or is there? Yeah.
Well, let's just, for everybody listening, we'll just do a real quick recap that the Library Board of Trustees is expected to submit a library annual report every year by state statute. The director prepares the report, and then the board approves the acceptance of the report, and then the president and the directors sign paperwork and allow that to be submitted. And this information is required by Minnesota statute 134.13 that it provides input and output measures related to facilities, services, programs, collection, staffing, hours of operation, and income expenditures, so that policymakers can plan and implement services that meet the needs of our community. So that's what we're doing here today.
Yeah, and there's interesting things, and I've been going through numerous organization annual reports, and because COVID, everything's all wacky. What I found particularly interesting in this report was just website visits were down, which I would have just assumed the opposite because of COVID, people really logging on and logging in there, but that wasn't the case. I don't know if there's anything that jumped out for anyone else, if anyone else has any comments or concerns or questions around the report. Don't see any or hear any, but it is a lengthy report and very informative. If there are no questions or comments or concerns, I could just ask for a motion to accept the report and thank Amanda for her work on it.
Commissioner Mills, I would so move.
Thank you, Councillor Gary. Do we have support?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll do a roll call vote. Councillor Gary?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Dave is aye as well. Unanimous approval. And thank you, Amanda, for working on that. And I'm sure you also found it interesting just looking at numbers and COVID and everything.
Yes.
Anything that jumped
some more.
What's that?
I'll give you a little I'll give the board a little sample of my reflections maybe next board meeting. And David, the approval form, if you could go ahead and sign that, it is you can do it digitally.
Very
Thanks.
good. Thank you.
And thank you so much for that, Amanda. I do appreciate that.
And then next on the agenda is the discussion of postponement of library strategic plan process. And yes, so here we are virtually. We can do strategic planning, but we are short a couple of members. And so still we can do strategic planning, but it really begs the question on whether or not we should be doing that right now, or if we're holding steady, or what our thoughts are there. So does anyone have thoughts on that? If there's a strong desire to dive in and start this planning process, or if we would like to postpone it for the time being? Yes, Sarah?
I think it makes sense to postpone it for a while. I think that as we come out of the COVID emergency, we'll have more information about what we would like the library to do and how we'd like it to look, in addition to having ideally a full board. So it makes sense to me to put it off for a little while.
Very good. Anybody else have any comments around that?
Yeah, I would concur with Sarah.
Very good. I feel similarly. I don't want to, of course, stop progress, right? I want us to always be improving and always developing. But yeah, it's a weird time, and the ways in which the library is responding may or may not be extremely congruent with the strategic plan. But as Sarah so eloquently stated, I think after the emergency, we'll be in a lot better place as well. So, do we need a motion to postpone that? I wouldn't think so, but it's just a consensus situation, I think. All right. The emergency is not scheduled to end necessarily here, so I think this postponement does not. We don't need to have a defined time by which we're going to start it again, but I think it's safe just to say after the emergency. All right. Well, that brings us just to the end, and unless I missed a further addition there, I don't think I did. We have our next meeting scheduled on Thursday, March 25th, 5 p.m. Is that date, is our schedule looking fine for everyone yet? Okay. Very good. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss at this meeting? All right. Well, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Kevin. Do we have support?
I would second.
Thank you, Councilor Gary. I'll do a roll call vote. Kevin?
Aye.
Councilor Gary?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Dave is aye as well. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. And again, welcome, Sarah. And we'll be seeing each other virtually in a month here.
All right. Thank you.
Everyone,
Have a good night.
forward